All right, good morning, everybody. I see the Smedge and I see Steve. We're off to a good start. We're running a little bit behind. Had to reboot the machine because old Skype wanted to update. Live is hard mode. But I've got Cameron with me, and we've got a story to talk about. How you doing this morning, Cameron?
I'm fantastic. I'm making donuts. I'm getting up early, and yeah, man, yeah.
Hey, real quick, Cam. I shared the audio to you. Were you able to hear that?
Yes.
Excellent. And Trish joined us. Good morning. Good morning. All right, Chris, can you see the live comments from before the intro at all? No. No, Steve, I can't see the comments from before. The first comment I see is Dad saying, "Good morning, coffee is hot." I don't know if that's an invitation or if he's letting us know that he learned something through trial and error this morning. But, so here's what we've got this morning. I want to caveat this. We're going to be as careful as we can about the way we discuss this, because we don't
want to get whacked again.
Yeah, we don't want to get yeeted off of YouTube again. And so I don't mean to make any claims about COVID apart from what Rand Paul claims in the Senate hearing for the purposes of discussing the exchange between Doctors Rand Paul and honorary Dr. Anthony Fauci. Because let's be real, one of these guys has practiced.
In the past few years, like once a year, Rand Paul goes and does eye surgery in some South American country for free, because he's a surgeon.
Yeah,
and he's a nice guy.
Whereas Dr. Fauci is the guy that murdered the gays with the AIDS.
Well, and said all the straights were going to have it. That some 2-3 million households, yeah. Fauci, whatever.
Yeah,
he sucks.
I don't know if he's an alarmist, if he's a sensationalist, or if he's just incompetent. But Fauci has been wrong repeatedly. The only reason Dr. Fauci has been right at all through the entire course of the pandemic is because he has reversed his position on every position that he's taken at least once.
Yeah. If you pick every position on the clock simultaneously, one of those will be the correct hour. And that's exactly what it is with him.
And I suspect that if we go back and look at it enough, we can find a place where his first position was correct, and then he changed that position. So I'm sure there's one or two places where he was right and then decided to become wrong later. But for a lot of that, the science is still out. Hey, EM, I don't know who you are, just EM, but welcome to the show and thanks for tuning in. This is the first time I've seen your tag in our chat. I hope you hit that subscribe button and hang out and come back and see us, especially for Firearms Friday, because if this is the kind of show you want to watch, please believe you're gonna love Firearms Friday. So let's go ahead and get into this. Obviously, it's Wednesday, and here on the BFM for now, that means WTF CCPNN. So CNN is trying to spin the conversation like this. You don't know what you're talking about. Fauci excoriates Rand Paul, but here's the interesting piece about it. CNN's running a video that's only about 2.5-3 minutes long. It's the tail end of the conversation. It's the after everything substantive that Paul said. It's Fauci going off and making a clown of himself. And they just left off all the, I don't know, what's the word I'm looking here for, Cameron?
Context?
Substance. context, yeah. So let's watch a little bit of this just to kind of get a flavor of where it is. We don't have to watch the whole CNN clip because we are going to dig through the whole exchange in just a second here. CNN. Come on, CNN.
Time to lie to Congress.
CNN
Do you wish
sucks
to
even when
retract
they're
your
not trying
statement
to
of
suck.
May
That's
11th where
funny.
you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Senator Paul, I have never lied before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement. This paper that you are
Okay, he made a false statement. A statement which we know from his emails that he knew at the time of making the statement was a false statement, and he just said, I never lied. That's a second lie. If you lied, and then you lie about lying, you have told at least 2 lies.
Well, I strongly suspect that given how carefully he chooses his words, how narcissistic he is, how manipulative he is, I bet as far as like telling a direct one-to-one lie, that's not exactly what's happened. Now, he lied about the masks, but that's not what I'm referring to. I think with regard to, the specific situation with the potential for the Wuhan lab to do the gain-of-function research and all that, he's probably very carefully chosen the truth that he wants to tell. That's how guys like him operate. It's how they manipulate, which is basically the same word for them. And I think what we really saw with him losing his temper with Rand Paul is the mask started to come down. Like, Rand Paul's a mosquito to him, and he's tired of it buzzing in his ear.
Yeah. So let's watch just a little bit more of the CNN edit, because you saw the edit there. Well, you didn't, Cameron, because you're just hearing it, but the edit, the cut was very obvious.
referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function. Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans,
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about.
Okay, so, Paul just called him out right there. So Dr. Fauci, what you're saying is that when you take a virus that lacks a specific function, and then you add that function to that virus, that is not by definition gain of function. And Fauci said that's correct.
Well, and again, that goes back to what I said a moment ago. I guarantee you he can produce evidence that people up and down the chain all said this is not gain of function research. And he's quoting other people. It is a slimy, sleazy tactic.
And how many people told us that we were going to see at least 2.5 million dead in the U.S. by the middle of summer last year? I'll give you a clue. Fauci was one of them. So we're going to stop. We're only 40 seconds into 3 minutes, and we've seen 3 glaringly obvious edits. So here, I've taken this from C-SPAN. This is the full clip.
Dr. Fauci, as you are aware, it is a crime to lie to Congress. Section 1001 of the U.S. Criminal Code.
And okay, so real quick,
It is a crime to lie to.
I just want to ask this question. You see how everybody on this panel is framed way up, and you've got all this blank black space. Who's hiring these cameramen? Jesus Christ! Call me. I'll fix this shit. Oh,
Congress.
sorry.
Section 1001 of the U.S. Criminal Code creates a felony and a 5-year penalty for lying to Congress. On your last trip to our committee on May 11th,
Steve says the volume on the clip is rather quiet. Let me see if I can turn that up for you.
you stated that the NIH has
Is that better, Steve?
not ever and does not now fund gain-of-function research in the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And yet,
Hang on.
gain-of-function research was done.
Alex says black space was included for diversity. Okay, Alex, I got one for you. I'm going to give you the top comment for that one.
Entirely in the Wuhan Institute by Dr. Shi and was funded by the NIH. I'd like to ask unanimous consent to insert into the record the Wuhan virology paper entitled Discovery of a Rich Gene Pool of Bat SARS-Related Coronaviruses. Please deliver a copy of the journal article to Dr. Fauci. In this paper, Dr. Shi credits the NIH and lists the actual number of the grant that she was given by the NIH. In this paper, she took 2 bat coronavirus genes, spike genes, and combined them with a SARS-related backbone to create new viruses that are not found in nature. These lab-created viruses were then shown to replicate in humans. These experiments combine genetic information from different coronaviruses that infect animals but not humans to create novel artificial viruses able to infect human cells.
Okay, so just before Fauci gets to retort, and for the purposes of pausing this video to break it up a little bit to avoid the algorithmic censorship, just to summarize, what Paul just said is the Wuhan lab, funded by the NIH, took several different coronaviruses which were not capable of infecting human beings, and combined them to create a novel coronavirus that had that function gained.
Yeah, it's almost like they made it on purpose.
So what he's just attested to with evidence is not that the coronavirus was designed in a lab as a weapon to be used to conduct biological warfare. However, even without that claim, because I don't want anybody to make the mistake, right? Okay, we've talked about this on the show before. Early in the pandemic, when anybody that said Wuhan lab was just excoriated as a tinfoil hat conspiracy junkie, I made the point that it doesn't matter for strategic and tactical purposes with regard to public relations and foreign policy. It doesn't matter if the disease was conceived in a lab. That it occurred in Wuhan, China, means that China had control of the virus early on. So without even having to assign motive, without having to say that China was intentionally doing something nefarious, the fact of the matter early on was it was irresponsible for the United States to treat it as anything other than a military threat from a foreign power. Because whether it was designed in a lab, accidentally escaped from a lab, jumped species in the turtle cooties whooping cough, or frickin' gutter oil garbage in the wet market, the fact of the matter was, and this is not a point in controversy, that China had control over the transmissibility of the individual infectees present in Wuhan and whether or not they could travel. And again, non-controversial statement, uncontroverted, China allowed travel from Wuhan outside of China, but not from Wuhan to other regions within China. People in Wuhan were allowed to fly internationally and leave China, but they were not allowed to leave Wuhan and go to other places in China. So the question of whether or not it was designed in a lab, that's no longer controversial. No, not even our nutjob president still believes that the virus occurred naturally. Right? Not even Dr. Fauci is contending that the virus was not created in a lab. The idea of that being a conspiracy, a nut job, unfounded conspiracy theory, that's gone. So let's hear what Fauci has to say about it.
Viruses that in nature only infect animals were manipulated in the Wuhan lab to gain the function of infecting humans. This research fits the definition of the research that the NIH said was subject to the pause in 2014 to 2017, a pause in funding on gain of function. But the NIH failed to recognize this, defines it away, and it never came under any scrutiny. Dr. Richard E. Bright, a molecular biologist from Rutgers, described this research in Wuhan as the Wuhan lab used NIH funding to construct novel chimeric SARS-related coronaviruses able to infect human cells and laboratory animals. This is high-risk research that creates new potential pandemic pathogens that exist only in the lab, not in nature. This research matches, these are Dr. Ebright's words, this research matches, indeed epitomizes, the definition of gain-of-function research, done entirely in Wuhan, for which there was supposed to be a federal pause. Dr. Fauci, knowing that it is a crime to lie to Congress...
Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot to switch y'all back over to there. Okay, so just real quick, for anybody who doesn't understand what a chimera is, because he did mention the chimeric, let me just show you this this image from one of my favorite animes. This is the dog chimera from Full Metal Alchemist. If any of you out there are not now weeping openly, I weep a little for your dearth of culture. This isn't just a funny joke, right? This chimera, the dog chimera, made of the insane doctor's pet dog and young, like 7-year-old daughter, because his research was forbidden by the government, is a powerful metaphoric commentary on and I hate that these words are about to leave my face, government restraint on scientific progress. There are things which are not reasonable to pursue. So, back to it.
Do you wish to retract your statement of May 11th where you claimed that the NIH never funded gain-of-function research in Wuhan?
Your microphone.
Senator Paul, I have never lied.
Did y'all see the way he punched? I mean, he punched that microphone. Look here.
Before the Congress, and I do not retract that statement.
Okay. Fauci said that we never funded gain-of-function research. Unless everything that Paul just read is categorically false, then the statement "I never lied" is itself a lie. I see what you're getting at, where you're saying that he's quoting people, Cameron, but the fact is, Fauci said directly, we never funded gain of function research.
When you get further into the clip, you're going to see another thing that I'm talking about, but we've got to get there.
Yeah.
This paper that you were referring to was judged by qualified staff up and down the chain as not being gain of function.
Okay. I want to know who those staff are, because the qualified staff he's referring to, if these are people who are associated with Dr. Fauci, then we're talking about quote-unquote qualified staff who have told us that masks don't work and that a vaccine cannot be developed in less than 3 years. That's what they told us when Donald Trump was the president. Right? They told us that that the virus was not a threat, that we should go and eat Chinese food in Chinatown to prove to everybody that we're not racists. They told us that we should be going to the movie theater and that wearing a mask was just paranoia. These are the experts that he's talking about, that he's referencing when he basically says that this paper has been debunked. So, God, I know I'm stretching the edges, you two, but we have to deal with this guy.
Let me finish.
You take an animal virus and you increase its transmissibility to humans.
Right.
You're saying that's not gain of function?
Yeah, that is correct. And Senator Paul, you do not know what you are talking about, quite frankly. And I want to say that officially.
Says the guy. I mean, I cannot overstress the number of times this man has had to correct himself, and even then continue to be wrong on certain issues.
Do not know what you are talking about. Okay, you get one person.
Let's read from the NIH definition of gain of function. This is your definition that you guys wrote. It says that scientific research that increases the transmissibility among mammals is gain of function. They took animal viruses that only occur in animals and they increased their transmissibility to humans. How you can say that is not gain of function?
It is not.
It's a dance, and you're dancing around this because you're trying to obscure responsibility for 4 million people dying around the world from a pandemic.
And let's let Dr. Fauci.
I have to, well, now.
Now, what Paul just said there, the dance you're trying to dance around it to, that is the argument that Cameron's making, and you're right about that piece of it. The way they're, basically what he's trying to do is he's trying to redefine what gain of function is so that he can suddenly retroactively not have lied.
Well, I mean, when we get further, you'll see what I'm talking about, but we've got to get there, and we're running out of time.
Okay, but you know I got to break up the video too.
Now you're getting into
Yes.
something. If the point that you are making is that the grant that was funded as a sub-award from EcoHealth to Wuhan created SARS-CoV-2. That's where you are getting. Let me finish.
We don't know.
Well,
we don't
wait
know
a minute.
If it did
I
come
can-
from the lab, but all the evidence is pointing that it came from the lab, and there will be responsibility for those who funded the lab, including yourself.
I totally
This committee
resent.
will allow the witness to respond.
I totally resent the lie that you are now propagating, Senator, because if you look at the viruses that were used in the experiments, that were given in the annual reports, that were published in the literature, it is molecularly impossible.
No one's saying those viruses caused it.
It
No
is
one is alleging that
molecularly.
those viruses caused the pandemic. What we're alleging is that gain-of-function research was going on in that lab, and NIH funded it.
That is
you can't
not-
get away from it. It meets your definition, and you are obfuscating the truth.
I'm not obfuscating the truth.
Senator
You are the
Paul's
one.
time is expired, but I will allow the witness to.
Let me just finish. I want everyone to understand that if you look at those viruses, and that's judged by qualified virologists and evolutionary biologists, those viruses are molecularly impossible
No one's
to
saying
result
they are. No
in
one's saying those viruses
SARS-CoV-2.
caused the pandemic.
Senator Paul,
We're saying they are gain-of-function.
And so, is this the bit
It
that
was right there.
Yeah.
It was that bit right there when he says, no, it wasn't us. It was a sub-award. See? See,
hang on. So he didn't hit the subaward yet.
That became more transmissible in human, and you funded it.
And
Won't
you
admit the truth.
and you
Senator
implying
Paul, your time has expired, and I.
Okay, so what he's doing here, Rand Paul has been very clear. Listen, Fauci. What we're saying is that gain-of-function research was done in the Wuhan lab, and that was funded by the NIH, and it should not have been. And this is something that was discovered because scrutiny came to the Wuhan lab because of the COVID virus. And Fauci is saying, well, the COVID-2 virus didn't result from... No. Well, hold on. Rand Paul has not claimed that the pandemic virus is a result necessarily of the gain-of-function research that was done in the Wuhan lab. But Fauci is prescribing that motive, saying, well, here's where you're getting to, here's where you're getting to. Says who? Based on what? See, Fauci, what he's saying is the research was done in that lab. This is not in controversy. That research was funded by NIH. This is not in controversy. Those two facts taken together do present a significant legal problem. And Fauci's saying, okay, this is akin to arresting somebody for making an illegal weapon, right? So you have somebody who made a bomb maker, right? You have a bomb maker who built an IED, and you catch him after the IED goes off and kills somebody, and you take him to court, and you say you're being charged with the illegal manufacture of a deadly weapon. And his defense is, I didn't kill anybody. Somebody else planted that bomb. Yeah, but Sunshine, nobody said you killed anybody. We said you made the weapon. Well, I didn't kill anybody. But that's not the crime you've been accused of. That's the dance he's doing here. Is, well, I didn't do this other thing.
Well, and he keeps doing that lefty thing that so many... in fact, he's pretty narcissistic. I wouldn't be surprised if he's got a personality disorder based on how much he likes to be on TV and how he seems to be so genuinely offended. And notice how he's doing that classic narcissist thing where... oh, well, we ran this up and down the chain and everybody said this was not gain of function. And then as soon as Rand Paul brought new information to him, he moved the goalpost and he said, well, all of these other people have said that it is molecularly impossible. And then again, the goalposts get moved when Rand Paul pins him down on the funding. He's like, well, it was a sub-award for Ecolab. And it was never him. It was never the NIH. And it was never his team. It was never his call. It was always somebody else. And all he's doing is just quoting other people because Anthony Fauci can't be wrong. And
him saying it was a sub-award and expecting somehow that, we're not going to get through the last 20 seconds of this, but we really don't need to. Fauci saying, well, it was a sub-award of a sub-award, blah, blah, blah. That's okay. I've been arrested for tax evasion, right? I'm a multi-billionaire. I'm sitting in front of the hearing board or the court, the judge or whatever, and I'm being questioned on my tax evasion. And they say, hey, you've been arrested because you failed to pay, $1 million in taxes that you were lawfully required to pay. And my defense is, but I set up all these shell companies in the Cayman Islands.
It was the shell companies that committed tax fraud, not me.
Wait. So your defense against having committed the crime is that you laundered your money so carefully that we shouldn't have been able to catch you. And since we did catch you, we should take into account your very, very careful money laundering and consider that to be, okay, so you've washed your hands enough that they're clean? No, son. The laundering is its own separate offense. Right? So if a sub-award from a government grant goes to a place that it is forbidden to go to, right? If the government grant is not allowed to fund whatever it is, in this case the gain of function research, and a sub-award from that grant goes to fund that research, that is not different legally from the NIH funding the research. So yeah, Alex is spot on. That's because he knows he will ultimately go to jail unless he can pass the buck. Unless he can redefine gain-of-function research to mean not gain-of-function research, and he can stack enough bullshit shell companies between the funding and its illegal repository, then Fauci's
cooked. Now, he won't be.
Yeah, he's dirty as withdrawal breakfast.
Yeah. But,
covered in shit.
In a sane world, he'd already at least be in exile and humiliation, if not prison. But whatever.
Well, in a sane world, Fauci would have been so disgraced and blacklisted by
After
the
the AIDS
travesty
thing.
of the AIDS thing, that he never would have been anywhere near this.
That is very, very true, brother. I gotta say that's time for me, man. And
Yeah, well, and I think we've come to a pretty neat summary here, and I think our original point that CNN, I mean, Fauci excoriates Rand Paul. Shut up.
yeah,
Fauci got absolutely drubbed there, and lied about lying, and got caught up in his own lies. Fauci
got wrecked.
For Fauci to continue to draw a taxpayer-funded check is an absolute abomination. You talk about taxation without representation. 8% on baked goods. Shit up your noses. Thanks for watching, guys. It's been great. We love you. With any luck, I almost saved this one for tomorrow because I want to give it a total win to Rand Paul for this one. But in fairness, I got to say this isn't a total win. Just because Fauci had so much artificial backup from the Democrats and the press machine on this one. But coming out swinging, coming out strong. We appreciate you, Rand Paul. Rand Paul is one of my least abhorred Republicans, if I'm being perfectly fair. So, love you guys. Thanks for watching, and we will see you tomorrow.